Do-do-do.
Boy, oh boy. It's kind of one of those days I want to watch Rocky.
Da 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 boom boom da 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 boom boom. No, I don't. I don't. I just don't do acapella all that well.
I was gonna say, are you not a Rocky fan?
You know, I'll be honest with you. The only Rocky I've ever really watched was like Rocky 3.
Is that the one where he fights the Russian?
Yes.
Okay. And I thought that was one of the worst ones. People rave about that one. I was not a fan of that one.
I can understand that. Hey, everybody. How are you doing today?
Yeah. So you never saw like the new Rocky where he has his son and all that. And like that was interesting, that one.
No.
I'm a fan. I think Sylvester Stallone is a pretty good actor.
No, I mean, my whole thing is not, I mean, I have nothing, I don't have a dislike for the movies. I just haven't.
Not the biggest.
Yeah.
It's understandable.
They dread.
That could be tough.
I don't know. I think when I think of Sylvester Stallone, I think of the first movie that actually comes to mind is Demolition Man with Wesley Snipes.
All right. It's enough about Rocky movies. Enough about Sylvester Stallone. Let's get rocking and rolling.
All right.
I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Fantastic Memories Travel, and its Mousemaster Travel Group. The Mousemaster Travel Group focuses on Disney destination vacations, and the Mousemaster agents would love to take care of the stressful parts of your vacation planning so you can focus on the fun. You can check them out at mousemastertravel.com. MickeyMonthly.com brings you a monthly surprise box of Disney goodies direct from the Disney parks. Each month, Mickey Monthly makes the perfect custom box for your family, and with options including Disney trading pins, Main Street snacks, and authentic Disney park merchandise. Packages start at only $7. Cure your Disney withdrawal today by heading over to MickeyMonthly.com. Use our special promo code RADIO35, that's RADIO 35, to save 35% off your first box. Once again, that's MickeyMonthly.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Streaming Disney proudly presents Behind the Ears Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Ears Podcast. I am Uncle Danny. Alongside of me tonight is Mr. Chris. Mr. Chris, sir, how are you?
What's up, everybody? I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing tonight, Danny?
You know, I've had better days. Today was a bit of a rough day, but, you know, as our normal workday ends, I get so excited to head to job number 2 and hang out with not only you, Chris, but also so many of our fantastic listeners. So, you know what the funny thing today is, Chris?
What's up?
I was on break, you know. I was putting out some shows, working on some of our social media platform.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, the internet breaks. And I'm not talking my router. Legitimate. The internet broke today when news circled that Seven Dwarfs Mine Train would be closed during Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party.
You know, I saw that too, and I don't. How do I say this? The first thing I saw was like, whoa. Everybody really had a lot of opinions on that. And it seemed like there was a lot of different pieces of information out there from different sources. And it was a little hard to kind of sort through it all, to be very honest with you.
Yeah, well, if you guys don't know, me and Chris also run a fantastic Facebook group called the Disney Community. If you want, you know, you can check out what's going on in there. We have just shy of 1,000 members. It's a very new group. But every day, Chris will give you tidbits of the day, and I try to put up a poll. And, you know, as the days go on, the polls get a little trickier because it's how many times can you ask what your favorite park or ride is. So today I said, you know, since I feel like the internet has blown up today with the news of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train closing, I feel the need to make this our lunchtime poll. How do you feel about this attraction? You had 4 options. The first option is I want my money back because I've heard people say it. That's it. I'm not going, which got 1 vote. I am upset, but I still plan on going, which seems to be the reasonable thing, which got 5 votes. And then my favorite that I voted for it, really? This made you upset? That had a whopping, 19 votes. And it's true. And I don't mean to be, mean about it, but I was in different groups, and, you know, being a host of a podcast like this, and, you know, I'm going to use this word very loosely here, so I'm sorry if, you know, I sounds a little crude. You know, being a public figure to an extent in the Disney community, I am not saying we are famous by any stretch of the imagination, but you can become recognizable in certain situations. Yeah. I try to, you know, also because of the type of human I am, I'm a little confrontational, so I try to just be on the cautious side a little bit. And some of the people were downright nasty. Basically, not only did they want their money back, but they don't want to go to Disney anymore, and this is a money grab. And, oh, how can they charge this much money and this ride be down? And I'm like, wow.
I did see some of those comments, and you know, I've said a few things about this sort of thing before in the recent past, and I like you, I try to have a little bit of a filter. I mean, I want to say what I want to say. I want to say what I feel and I think, because, you know, it's my opinion, and I want to hear other people's opinions as well, because they're equally as important to me, in my opinion, especially since, you know, the Disney community is made up of, you know, many different people, and many people see this as, you know, a good conversation piece, and it can be a very difficult one to process, especially since there's a lot of different information out there about this, and the conflicting part to it, I think, made people upset. But to not see, here's my take on it: it's an extra hard ticketed event, and if it's not suiting you, you know, you do have the option to not go, but still you can enjoy some of the nice decorations and stuff like that during the normal day. But I still, you're right. I mean, I think there's the one thing that I made a comment on over at the Disney community page. I think people were expecting that it would be available to them, and now they feel like, you know, it's a major attraction. Why weren't they notified? Why did Disney make this decision? And so on and so forth. And it's not just for one or two of the different parties, but, you know, it was said, it was like, you know, not on just one or two different parties, but it was also like saying, you know, it wasn't available during Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, period.
I was flabbergasted.
But that's what I think people were hearing that, though, right? It wasn't just down for a refurb or maintenance or anything like that, which I think, okay, fine. That's a little upsetting, but it's not the biggest thing. And then people were, you know, really upset that it was going to, no matter what day, from part of September all the way through November 1st, it wasn't going to be available. And so, you know, who knows? Now, I'll go ahead and get to the end of you know, I'll wait until the end of this part of our conversation to tell you what I've also read. But, you know, some things where we're talking about, like Daniel's asking, hey, recap, you got it. So we're talking about Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, and the idea that the news started spreading around that Seven Dwarfs Mine Train was not going to be available during the party. And it didn't say a particular time or a day, you know, which day of which party that it would not be available. It was just blanket statement. Now, keep in mind, this is also going on the coattails that Disney listed out other certain attractions that were, well, let me rephrase that. Disney listed out the attractions that would be available for the party. And while Space Mountain was on there, the other two mountains were not. You know, type of thing. And I believe one of them is actually down for a scheduled refurb during that time. So that was to be expected.
I think it's Splash and Big Thunder, both scheduled for refurbs.
Something to that extent. Basically, the way I heard about that was it was kind of the headline that the only thing that was going to be available in Adventureland was going to be like Country Bears Jamboree. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, whoa, TV timeout. And it came from a very reliable source too, I might add. But now we're hearing this about Seven Dwarfs. Now, I'll be honest with you. You know, I've said it before. My focus when I go to the parties is pretty much, you know, 75% the cool stuff that goes on, especially for the party, and then 25%, you know, suck up the really good attractions with lower wait times and so on and so forth. But yeah, Splash is available, or not available. Splash is scheduled for refurb. We kind of knew that. I mean, that's been talked about for months.
I think they're down from August to November. Because that was my biggest thing is, how are you going to put that ride down in August? But when I was there in March, I couldn't even ride it because, no exaggeration, it broke down 4 times in one day. Not saying there's a correlation with it, but it's just kind of funny that you have scheduled maintenance coming up for several months, and when I was just there, it was breaking down. Now, I'll be there in less than, was it like 20-some odd days, whatever it is.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. You know, I mean, it's going to be ridiculously hot, and I plan on riding it. But listen, like we had said before, is it a bummer if it's not open? You know, speaking in regards to Seven Dwarfs, sure, absolutely. You know, are you paying an absorbent amount of money to get into some of these, you know, hard ticket events? Yes. But here's my look at it. And I could be wrong, but, you know, everybody does Disney differently. This is how I look at it. The park, Magic Kingdom closes at 7 o'clock for a normal day ticket. So on a normal, you're going to spend what, $125 if you're getting a single day into that park, okay? Or you can turn around depending on what time of the year you go. But let's say even if you went on a Halloween night, you're paying $115.
Right.
So you're right off the bat, you're saving money right there. Now, granted, are all the rides open? Absolutely not. But with those rides being closed, you are gaining trick-or-treating. You are gaining specialty characters that don't come out all year. You are gaining specialty parades that only come out during these hard ticket events. So I'm not saying, like, you shouldn't be upset with it, but to basically come out and say, oh my God, they ruined this trip for me. It's kind of like, well, take a step back for a second. Like, there are plenty of other fantastic rides that are open for you to do. And, you know, to me, if I'm going to this hard ticket event, which I will be there for, I'm there for the characters. I'm there for the ambiance. If I get to ride, you know, whatever rides that night, awesome. If I don't, I'm not spending money on that ticket to go ride a ride. I'm spending money on that ticket to do all the other things that ticket includes. That's me, though. Yeah,
and of course, in taking into consideration, you know, you are able to get in right around the 4 o'clock time frame on that special hard ticket party ticket. Yeah, you know, you're able to get in, so you're actually able to enjoy a pretty long amount of time in the park. And I guarantee you something: you're still not going to be able to do everything you want to do around the party time. I mean, that is really a big thing, is that it's still let's face it, it's the Magic Kingdom. It is a multi-day park. And, you know, we've always advised our listeners and viewers to, you know, if you had a choice between, you know, the party and Magic Kingdom at the same day, go to a different park during the day, go to the party at 4 o'clock, and just enjoy everything it has to offer, because there is going to be so much cool stuff. And especially if you're able to go during some of the first party dates, I mean, you're still going to be there when it's warm. The sun's still going to be out a little bit longer. You're still going to get all the benefits of, you know, trick-or-treating, the parade, the different events going on, the different snacks. I mean, it's going to be a pretty big deal. I still can tell you something. I know I haven't done everything I possibly could and seen everything I could possibly see at one of the parties. And that's why I go every couple of years to the parties if I happen to be at the parks during those times. But seriously, one attraction does not make for everything. You know, I mean, I understand that some people are upset because maybe that was going to be the only time they were going to go to the Magic Kingdom was during that hard ticketed event. I understand that. You know, much love to that idea. But, you know, generally speaking, you know, try something else at night like that, especially with all the Halloween decorations and stuff going on. It's going to be great.
I mean, the last time I was there, I spent 5 hours just waiting online for 2 different characters, between the Jack Skellington and the Seven Dwarfs. Plus, you know, I did the parades and everything like that and Hollow Wishes. But I mean that's how I strategize. You know, being an AP holder, it's not the end of the world. So I went to Magic Kingdom that day. And I left Magic Kingdom, I want to say around 2 o'clock, because I went back to the hotel room. You know, sure. I took a shower because it was hot. And then I put on my Halloween costume. You know, we got a little snack, and then I left to go back to the park, and I got to the park around 5 o'clock. And between all I did that night was Boo to You Parade, Hollow Wishes, waited online for Jack Skellington, ate some candy, waited online for Seven Dwarfs, walked out of the park. Now, granted, I went in a time where I was not paying what the prices are now, so, you know, I mean, if you're paying $115 to go on Halloween night and you only accomplished meeting two characters in the parade, could you be upset? Now, see, that is something where I could say, okay, be upset. There's not enough time.
Oh, I agree.
I agree. Though, that's me.
Well, you know, the thing of it is that I think of the times where, you know, I think one of the last times I went, my son was really young. So let's call it like 7, 8 years ago, I should say. And I think I only paid $65, $70 a ticket, you know, for that particular party. And, you know, I think the more that we end up paying, the more we expect out of the parties. I think that's only reasonable. I mean, I don't know what our listeners and viewers think, but I think the more you pay, especially for a hard ticketed event, it should be getting better too. Now, so when do you think the last time you actually went to the party? Like approximately what year, time frame?
When was the last time I was there? Was October of, what did we just have? October of 16, right? So I was there October of 15. I didn't go last year. Last year was the first year I missed.
Okay, so it hasn't been too long since you've been there. Okay, so you actually have a little bit better point of reference than I do for, you know, like when it comes to bang for buck factor.
I've been there for like 12 of these.
Wow. Okay, and I've done like the Christmas party twice. I've done a Halloween party twice. I mean, I don't get down there during the fall and winter as much as I have. In fact, the last time I did the Christmas party, my daughter, it was the time my daughter went down for the taping of the Christmas Day parade. She was cheering down Main Street, which was awesome.
You know, I was hoping that Trisha was. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to walk over you there.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
I was hoping Trisha was going to pop in here because Trisha is a longtime listener, and she actually was the one who we have a lot of conversations with throughout the day. And she actually emailed us, you know, a little bit before the show started and said, "Hey, are you seeing that they're saying Mine Train is going to now be open?" So there's a lot of speculation rolling around because when I checked today, Mine Train was not listed on Disney's site. And she sent us the link about maybe an hour ago. It's listed on there.
Exactly. And that was the thing I wanted to say. We wanted to talk about what we were seeing through, I'll call it mainstream media, social media here. But, you know, when she sent that to us, I know you and I both like instantly clicked on it. You know, Disney is showing that Mine Train is going to be up. Now, the reason why I kind of waited towards the end and why you waited at the end to talk about it is I
was answering that question. Sorry.
Oh, okay. The reason why I was saying that is sorry, it made me lose my train of thought, dude. But that's okay. That's okay. It happens. It came from Disney, but Disney does reserve the right to change things. Now, the interesting part is, and I'm not saying this as a criticism, I'm only saying this observationally. But, you know, someone even asked the Disney Moms panel about whether or not Mine Train was going to be open. Even the Moms panel said Mine Train was not going to be made available. But the main Disney page that showed, you know, information about the event showed Mine Train available. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'll go ahead and take what's on the main Disney page as true and accurate, but they do reserve the right to change things for any reason. And I think
that in the fine print that they can do it.
It says in the fine print, but I think now if you're new to Disney and new to going to Disney as your vacation, it is good to know that, you know, things do change. Whether it be, you know, something is down for unexpected maintenance, whether or not something is down for maintenance and kind of last minute, you know, something changes because of weather. It's just good to know. You know, you have to kind of take everything. Like Trish, thanks. I appreciate that. It's a good way of putting it. Take it with a grain of salt. I always like to say, hey, everything is subject to change without us being told, without us noticing, and you know, it happens. But see,
Trisha made a comment. She's not the only one who says it. She
that?
brought up before, but now the character lines were going to be longer because Seven Dwarfs is down. All right. Okay. Are you going to maybe add a few extra people to the line? Yes, but it's not like that entire line of Seven Dwarfs train that's usually there is going to reflect back in, because there are going to be people that say, okay, we'll go to Space Mountain. We'll go to Buzz. We'll go to, there's other rides available. It's not like, and now if Seven Dwarfs was the only ride available, well, then I can understand the correlation. I don't see it being a direct correlation in the aspect of you're going to see that big of wait times increased, because like I said, I've waited 3 hours for Jack Skellington. So what is it going to go up to? Maybe I'm going to wait 3 hours and 20 minutes. At the end of the day, that 20 minutes, it does not break it.
Danny, I just thought of a horrible thing.
Yeah.
What happens if it's not there and everybody ends up at Casey's for corn dog nuggets?
Imagine that line. That's the line we should all be worried about. No one should be worried about Jack Skellington, Seven Dwarfs. My corn dogs better be on time, ready, and warm. You better let me get in front of that line.
I'm afraid, I'm going to go up there and they're going to say, "I'm sorry, Mr. Chris, but we're out of Casey's corn dog nuggets." I'd be like, "Whoa, wait a second. That's just way uncool, man.
You better have some in the back."
Then I'm going to be heading to the town hall and say, "I want my Casey's corn dog nuggets."
Samara, I am one person that would wait 3 hours for a character.
Hey, listen, I don't think I would wait 3 hours for a character, but that's a whole different thing. Tanya, do go try Casey's corn dog nuggets.
Honestly,
I know, seriously.
Oh, so what?
That's okay.
I'm taking that down. No, that can't be.
No, that's okay. Hey, listen, I know it's not for everybody.
No, it's not.
I know it's not, and I respect that. I mean, just like I also like going to Starlight or Cosmic Ray Starlight Cafe, and Danny, I know you don't like that. So
well, you know what? Listen, I'll eat there before I eat a Coral Reef again.
Oh yeah. So I'll tell you right now, it'd be one of those. Obviously we're all joking about. Everybody knows my love for corn dog nuggets, but it is one of those cases where it's like you said, Danny, it's going to be dispersed. They're going to go to different attractions. They're going to see other characters. They're going to go get some food. They're going to go sit in line for a parade. Yeah. You know what? Will there be an extra, small uptick in some of those other attractions because of that? Yeah, but the fact of the matter is that you're maybe talking about 500 or 600 people to fill up that queue. That's 500 or 600 people in the whole scheme of things is not a whole lot. That gets absorbed in that park very quickly.
So Angie had posed a question before. Angie, I hope you're still here. What other parades and fireworks does the Christmas party involve? Not seeing it being worth the money. Well, we weren't going to really touch on the Christmas parade because we're not quite there yet. But just so you know, you'll have your typical Main Street parade, via Christmas. They do make it I guess snow. If you're from the Northeast or, certain parts of the Midwest, that's not snow, but hey, it's okay. They at least make an attempt, which is really cool. Is it worth the money? Angie, I'm actually in the process of writing a blog post about this currently, so tune back in because it's so subject to how you travel and who you travel with. It's not a very
it's not a yes or no. It's not a yes or no. Yeah, it's not a yes or no answer.
It's not like Casey's Corner where yes, go, it's good. This is more like, because it is expensive, and as over the years it has risen in prices to almost the point of making it a little bit unbearable for some families, and I get that. And is it necessarily the best source of money in Disney? That's for you to decide. I'm a big believer in hard ticket events, but at the same time, I have a little bit different situation than everybody else.
Well, here's my take on it. Someone always asks me, is it worth it just like that? I always say something back like, is it worth it for you? Because, you can do all the research in the world as to what's going to be there, and you have to decide whether or not that's something that you're going to have to plan out while you're there at the party, and whether or not you feel like it's going to be of value. Keep in mind, everybody's going to judge their value you know, whether or not it's a good value on their own, and that's okay. And I always say, hey, if you're on the border of, you know, either doing it or not doing it, give it a try. Seriously, make up your own decision. You know, it may be a splurge, but you know, I think it's worth giving it a try. But again, you have to kind of do the mental math and whether or not you think it's going to be something you're going to want to do. I don't think there's let me rephrase that. There are very few things at Disney that I think are like must do. You know, when I say must do, it's like if you don't do it, you're going to leave your vacation feeling like you're forgetting something. You checked it, you have your hat, your wallet, your phone, your keys, your wallet, and then you realize, oh, nothing is missing. I just forgot to do this one thing that I really wanted to do.
You know, Samara hits it on the head, though.
What's that?
Do it once.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best way to gauge if it is right for you and your family.
Yeah.
And then, and it's tough, especially if you don't end up liking it, because you're like, man, I just wasted $400. Yeah, I just wasted $400 on, you know, all this stuff, but I guarantee you can also get $400 worth of candy. I mean, in some cases, and you do it right, bring a pillowcase. I'm telling you, Brett. I mean, it's kind of like when I go for October, I always bring a pillowcase from home. I know people pull pillowcases off the hotel. That to me, I know it's wrapped candy. It just still kind of squeezes me out a little bit, but that's fine. Mary would like to know: has anyone ever found out the numbers allowed into the party? Wondered if they are increasing. I can tell you this, that the numbers do increase every year. They do not release the numbers because they keep that really tight. They really do. I was there for a Halloween party where they oversold it by almost 10,000 people. So take it into consideration. How much, you know, if they oversold it by 10,000, you got to assume it's more than 10,000. You know?
Yeah. And also at the same time, last year, I was watching people's videos and pictures on Facebook and stuff like that very closely about the crowds and so on and so forth. There seemed to be an uptick in crowds, and you know, kind of like going along the lines of what Danny just said. So if you were there, like say 10 years ago, and you wanted to compare it now, it's going to be quite busy still, but it's still technically scheduled to be less of a crowd than a normal day. So we'll have to, you know, again, you'll have to kind of work it out. And that's also why you have to plan it out still. It's not going to be just a free-for-all. You still have to plan your time there, just like you would plan any other section of time at any other Disney park. And if you do that, you're going to have a great time.
But embrace the ambiance, embrace everything going on, and let that inner kid really come out. You know, I've seen a lot of people saying it. Dress up, man. Even if it's as simple as, you know, a cheap pirate costume from the store to whatever, however you want to look at it.
I'll tell you what I did. One year I wore a hat, and on top I had a pair of Sorcerer Mickey ears on top.
Honestly, I've thought about going as Chris this year to Halloween for the Halloween party.
Hey, that's copyrighted. that's copyrighted. You know, circle 1997. That's right. You know, now listen. You could go ahead and try to be like me, but let's face it. There's only one Chris. There's only one, Mr. Chris. All right.
There's some amazing. You know what? Appreciate people watching, especially on a day like that, because it is amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Allie, I see. You know the Halloween of Alex. I'm sorry, I looked at Allie underneath it at the same time. I apologize, Alex. Yeah, there's a Halloween DVC event that they do every year at the Contemporary. I unfortunately I was not a DVC member the last time that I actually was there at that time, but that would actually really be pretty cool to do. I would just say if you're an AP or DVC member and they have anything special going on during those times, do it. Simple as that. Just go take advantage of those little perks that you have either as a member or a card holder. That's awesome. Oh my gosh, Family of 8. Where's Waldo? It was great. Oh my gosh,
that sounds fantastic.
That is really cool. I mean, you know what? One year, Kathy, my wife, she didn't have a costume, but she found this really cool Minnie Mouse like parka towel. it was designed to be just like worn around the pool, right? And it had a hood, it had mini ears, and on the back it had a mini tail, and it was like polka dotted. And that's what she wore to the Halloween party. It was absolutely
awesome.
Cool. It doesn't have to be anything big or dramatic. And she did buy it she bought it at Hollywood Studios, as a matter of fact. So, you don't have to have anything fancy. Just be in the spirit of it.
Trust me, I've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on costumes, and I've spent $10 on a costume. The first time I ever went down to Disney for Halloween was 2011. And I was making really good money at the time. I went out and bought a $600 chicken costume.
What?
I mean, this thing is dope. I still have it.
Why a chicken costume to a Disney Halloween?
It was no, because it was Family Guy was really big at that moment.
Oh,
and I'm still a big Family Guy fan. Like I'm rewatching every season. It's the fourth time around for me, so I'm almost reciting things now. So when I saw this chicken costume, I was like, I need to get it. And I mean, it doesn't resemble the chicken from Family Guy at all, but it was fantastic. I love the costume, but I sweated like a madman. Brian said, I thought adults can't wear costumes anymore. They revised their plan. If you head over to behindtheearspodcast.net, that is our page, or even if you head over to our Behind the Ears Podcast Facebook page, or even on Streaming Disney, if you scroll down a little bit, you will see part 1 of the hard ticket event blog that I wrote, and that gives the exact details of everything that Disney requires for you to enter the park with a costume. They'll tell you, basically don't wear a mask, no weapons. That has been, the thing I've seen the most.
I think one of the other things, if I'm not mistaken, do correct me, Danny, because I read your blog and I've read other things, but in essence, if you're going to look like any other character, you really that's where you really have to be careful. If you try to go in there with an Elsa costume and start signing autographs or something like that, they're gonna stop you.
You can dress up as Disney characters, but you cannot pose for pictures with other guests and or sign autographs.
Right.
Like, I know people have gone in there dressed as Walt, dressed as Mickey, but here's the thing. When you dress as these characters, you can't put a mask on, so you can't buy the Mickey head that I've seen people sell, or like the pull-down Mickey face. You can't do that. I mean, you could paint your face to look like Mickey, but that's the extent of it.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, for things like Elsa and things like that, where, if you're, blessed enough to look as fantastic as that, yeah, but you have to be careful because Disney does watch that.
I can almost guarantee you they would have eyes on you big time if for some reason that you were being really close to that. Hey, let's see, Kyle, let me read your comment here. Hey, Chris, once me and my family went to Haunted Mansion Ghosts. And another year we went as I'm sorry, I missed that part. As the Haunted Mansion Ghosts, and another year we went as Neverlanders. Me as Peter, my dad is Captain Hook, my mom is Wendy, my brother is Tick-Tock the Crocodile, and my sister as Tinkerbell.
That's awesome,
dude. That is so cool. And the thing is, I have to admit, I'm not that creative. I'm simply not that creative.
If you actually look at the blog,
yeah.
That picture of the 7 dwarfs is me and my family. We went as the 7 dwarfs, and my little niece was Snow White, and we took a picture with the 7 dwarfs. I mean, our costumes were pretty cheap, but that's because, like, why? Like, I'm not like. No.
I am so trying to hold back a comment. Like, which one were you? Which one were you, Grumpy? Ah!
You know what?
Called it.
Who fits wear it, right?
Yeah, I know. That is pretty funny. I'll tell you right now. I mean, as you can see, and I'm seeing from our viewers tonight, the fact of the matter is that I think most people. I shouldn't say most people. I think a lot of people, because I don't know. I'm not doing a valid poll or anything. They're going to go, and you're going to have a good time. And that's the main thing about it. Go and take advantage. Get there at 4:00. Enjoy every aspect of it. Take a nap beforehand. Have your, try to make sure your little ones can handle it that late. You'll get your value out of it. And if you don't, well, if you don't think it's a good value, that's fine. But definitely take away the good memories of it with you and your family.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. You may not think there's a difference between it was a bad time and it was a bad value to you and your family. That's a big thing, and I'm kind of I'm defending Disney here a little bit when I say that, and the reason is that you can still make those memories with your family, and that really is the most important part. You may find out it's not worth it to you, and that's fine, but don't let it spoil the fun. Make those memories, take a lot of really cool pictures, get the candy, get the snacks, see everything. And that's the main thing.
I agree. So let's turn gears a little bit here. And, I'm going to reach into our magic little bag. Okay. And, me and Chris will, throughout the day, we send each other different ideas to talk about. So I'm going to randomly pick one. I should probably read these before I randomly pick one. I'm going to go with this one. Suppose new rooms at Pop.
Yeah.
And the idea of you to try to stay at the freshest resort. So why don't you clean that sentence up a little bit and tell me exactly what we're going to talk about?
He really did read that in my in my fragment, the fragment of an idea. And the funny part is, Danny actually knew what I was talking about, so he just wants to embarrass me. No. So what I wanted to ask everybody, and I wanted to ask you especially, Danny, I saw some pictures of what I believe are going to end up being the renovated rooms of Pop Century, and they looked really, really awesome. And the thing is, I've been at Pop before, and quite honestly, I enjoy it. It's a good resort. I normally don't stay at a value resort for more than a night or two. Usually, it's either at the beginning or at the end of my stay, and usually in the middle is, a DVC sandwich. So, but they've always seemed a little bit, basic, and that's fine. I know what I'm buying when I get a hotel room at a value, but I like Pop. It's a pretty good place. Do you, would you actually stay at a place, Danny, or would you be more apt to stay at a place that was recently refreshed or recently refurbed versus something that would be an old favorite?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So you called me right when I put a Reese's Piece in my mouth.
I'm sorry. I didn't see that because we have comments comments are going across my screen. Danny and I see two different screens when we do this.
I actually want to touch on something real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Brian, says he loves the podcast. Well, thank you.
Thanks, man.
We should have a show about Pandora, and there seems to be weight problem with Avatar Flight of Passage. There's just too much not known about it, and Chris nor myself are down in Florida. So once Chris is taking a little mental health break. I'm actually going on a business trip. I use that word.
I love that phrase.
Down to Disney. So that's going to be in a couple weeks here. We'll let you all know.
Because we're both kind of on the poo size, to believe it or not.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump on the ride. I'm going to do a little investigation while we're down there. So when it comes to Pandora, the reason we really haven't been talking about it is literally because Chris isn't going till later in the summer. I'm going in 20 days, so why talk about it until at least one of us have been down there? So I promise you by the end of June, you will have a show. By the middle of June. Yeah, let's say the latter part of June, be on the safe side. You will have a show live about Pandora.
Right.
So again, rephrase your question. I apologize.
Yeah, no problem at all. I love the comments. Thanks everybody for writing comments. It really, we really love it. We'd love to hear from you. So basically, I mean, if you had a choice between an old favorite of a resort hotel and a resort hotel that was recently refurbed, what would you choose? And let's not say money is. Let's take money out of the picture here for a minute. I mean, would knowing that a resort was recently refurbished be a draw to you?
Yes, in the aspect of who doesn't like fresh new things, fancy new things, and it's not saying that the old is bad. It's just saying, hey, you have this dull red, slinky or yo-yo that has been great to you since you were a kid. But hey, look at this lime green brand new yo-yo. And me being with the inner child, I'm like, well, I want the bright one. What are you doing? Give me you know what I mean? So it's that aspect too. There's a thing, the older ones play a different part in your life. They make you more feel at home. You feel a little more comfortable. And the new one is like a new experience. Maybe you're traveling somewhere you haven't gone. And that's the way I would honestly look at it. How do you feel about it?
Well, actually, I think it's a little bit tougher of a question for me because it kind of depends on the resort. You see, I know, like, there are people that think that, hey, you're mainly going to be just sleeping in your room, and you know what, to an extent, that is true. I mean, the only thing you're really there is to put your stuff there, and that's about it. As George Carlin once said, if you didn't have so much stuff, you wouldn't need a house. Well, same thing for a hotel room, because now all a hotel room is, a smaller version of your stuff. So, but at the same time, I also look at it from a resort accommodation perspective. The pools, the lobby / food court areas. If something was totally redone, I really kind of like to experience it, especially if I've experienced it before many times. Here's a great example. The villas at Wilderness Lodge is somewhere where I'm going to be staying at this summer. And I know they've changed the name to it, so I'm still stuck with villas at Wilderness Lodge. They've recently redone them.
Yeah.
And it looks like they have, like, I say tile floor as a generic term. It looks like they're, wood floors, something that would, instead of carpet, which I actually think is a pretty cool idea. Although my wife mentioned, it's going to probably be louder because it's going to echo a little bit in there. Who knows? We'll have to see. But I'm looking forward to seeing a nice, to be a part of a nice, fresh room, nicely refurbed room. And it's funny because you don't think that you would really pay attention to a refurbed room until you actually are part of it. And let me give you a separate example. What?
No, I was laughing at the fact of, I don't know if you're going exactly where I thought you were, so I'll let you go. Go ahead.
Okay. Anytime I go, I do a lot of travel for work. And so I tend to go to different hotels, and especially if it's been a hotel I've been at before, and all of a sudden I walk in the door and it's been totally refurbished and the rooms have been redone and everything else like that. I'm all over that. I'm like, wow, this is cool. This is a whole new experience for me. And I think doing that for Disney hotels is virtually the same thing. I want a fresh experience, and I'll be more than willing to try out a new room if it's been recently refurbed, and dare I say, even critique it a little bit.
That's what I wanted to go on, because I don't remember if you had remember having this conversation with me, but Riverside went through a very small refurb, very small. They just basically updated their rooms a little bit.
Yeah,
nothing
right.
to where would really catch anybody's eye. All they really did was they had a certain floral pattern that was on the bed,
right,
and then they turned it to basically all white,
right,
with a very small green pattern. I'm not familiar with the terminology, but it's whatever.
The thing about this, like this wide, and it fits over the end of it, type of thing. Yeah, exactly.
And
a runner. It's like a runner. It's like a runner of sorts.
People lost their mind.
I do remember this conversation,
and I was astonished. I was like, and I started to realize, and this is not, I don't mean to sound rude, but sometimes people just need to find something to be upset about.
Sure.
Because to me, as much as I like the floral patterns because it did feel like home and it brought back memories from when I was a kid, the white is just such a cleaner, sleeker look, and it made the room feel brighter and cleaner. And especially coming from a hotel that is a tad bit darker. So, darker. Yeah. Just like how Port Orleans French Quarters is.
Right.
Beautiful hotel, but it is a darker hotel.
Darker tones.
Yes, right. That's what I was trying to get at. So, yeah. I think the white really, really does help out. Now, we had a question, and I did not mean to skip it. Drew, I still hope you're here. I apologize. We get off on tangents. Drew would like to know, we're staying at Coronado Springs the first week of June, and I was wondering if you have stayed there, if you have any thoughts about the resort, first time watching the cast.
Oh, cool. First off, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoy it. Hope you'll be back. We're here Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursday nights, 9:45 Eastern. I love Coronado. The interesting part about Coronado, it is a moderate resort that is also associated with like a conference center. So therefore, it has a little less Disney characters, but a lot of Disney charm. And I think the food court has improved dramatically over the years. I love the pool area. It's a gorgeous resort. It's a little on the spread outside, but I never had an issue walking from place to place. And the rooms, I think, they're very, I'll say, Disney professional. It's what I would expect to be a part of a really nice hotel. But if I was a business person there on a conference, it would be equally as fitting. Really enjoy the resort. I would probably say if you have a preferred room that is more near the hospitality house, I think that's a good idea, but really not necessary. Also for Coronado, they also have like business class rooms, which they're basically the same type of rooms, but it gives you access to like a business center that also has, it's like I'll call it the moderate version of a concierge lounge. And it's a few bucks more per night, but you might find it worthwhile to take a look into that. But overall, I really like Coronado. Really, no matter what room you're in, you're going to have a nice experience. I found the bus service to be really good. I don't have anything bad to say about it. I have stayed there several times in the past few years. I will stay there again anytime.
Now, isn't that hotel under major construction, though?
I think there is some. Are
they building the 15-story hotel on that property?
They are, but that doesn't mean it's going to necessarily take away from the experience.
Oh no! And I'm not. I
know that's not where you were going, but I wanted to make sure that for all of our viewers and listeners.
I also wanted to be like devil's advocate though, because you gave it such a great review, and I don't want anybody walking in being like, what is this? They did take down the main Jamba House. That's done. That is down. There's a lot of fencing up. There's a lot of construction workers. I would assume by 8 or 9 in the morning, you're going to hear jackhammers or trucks beeping and men talking or people talking. I should, specify that, people talking and work being done.
The thing is though, I usually go over by that way during my trips. Mainly because I tend to go that way to like Cast Connection and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I will try to stop by and take some pictures and see how that construction is going and how does it really impact the guest experience. It won't be until a little bit later in the summer, but of course, if anybody is going to be there within the next few weeks and want to share those experiences with us or pictures. I know you are, but you're not staying at Coronado.
I'll take a bus. Uber.
Oh, fine. Okay.
Uber.
I know. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't making the assumption or being presumptuous that you were going to, go over there. Besides, I was trying to see if some of our listeners would love to send us, some pictures over at, BehindTheEarsPodcast@gmail.com and, stuff like that.
So we're at the point of the show where we're going to begin to wrap this up, but we do technically have another few minutes slated for the show. So does anybody, listener-wise, have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to know? Personal, non-personal, Disney-related, whatever you want, fire them away. Let's see. Elisa says, so excited. We are coming back in July for the first time, staying at Port Orleans Riverside. You are going to love Riverside. I am not sure if you've ever been there. If you have, then you know how excited it is, but ooh, I'm so pumped. I love Riverside.
I'll tell you that Riverside, first off, right before our show came on here at Streaming Disney, they were streaming Yeehaw Bob from the lounge over there at Riverside, and all I gotta say is try to see Yeehaw Bob in person. He is absolutely fabulous. Hey, they did a great job tonight streaming his show, but seeing him in person is a hoot and a half. I'll just say that.
Now, Drew asked us, would you recommend redirect to another resort? I have a 2.5-week reservation and could switch one.
Which, Drew, which resort?
He's staying at Coronado.
Oh, at Coronado?
He's the one that asked us the question.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I don't mind doing split stays. I know some people say it's a pain in the butt to do. you can stay at Coronado for a little bit. You could also try Riverside or even try French Quarter for a moderate stay, or maybe even go up a little bit and stay over at the Wilderness Lodge, which, the Wilderness Lodge has always been known as kind of like the least expensive deluxe resort. Maybe split it up and start out over at Pop or somewhere else where they've recently done a refurb.
Or you can always go to Riverside.
You like Riverside. I like Riverside. Riverside was the first resort that I was at, my first resort experience at Disney. It made me fall in love with Disney, just from that. So
we did have a couple questions roll in.
Sure.
Tanya and Leslie kind of had similar, but we can break them up.
Okay.
Let's see. Tanya's was what's your favorite resort?
Ooh.
And then I'll show you what Leslie's question was.
Okay.
What are your favorite go-to resorts? So
Okay.
I'm going to say, we'll say Tanya's is no money. Doesn't matter price, where would you stay?
Okay.
And Leslie is, where do you stay normally if money is tight or whatever the case is?
Okay. Good question. I would say if money is no object, and this is going to seem weird, and I'll explain the answer here in a second. If money was no object, I would probably say I would get myself like a 1-bedroom Savannah room villa, over at Animal Kingdom Lodge. And I've stayed there so much. I love it, love it, love it. Of course, I don't always get to stay there because it's a deluxe resort. My go-to resort, as to if I had to pay cash for things, seriously, French Quarter. I mean, I've stayed there once, absolutely fell in love with it. And if something wasn't available at French Quarter, I would be totally at home at Riverside. So any of the, Port Orleans resorts would be my, my fun. So that's what I would say. What about you, Danny?
Money is no question. Club level Poly, baby. I've done it before.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I've done that, and it was really, really good. I really enjoyed club level at Poly. Oh yeah,
yeah. One of the best experiences I've ever. I mean, I've traveled the world. I've traveled overseas. One of the best experiences ever was.
Did you see what Brian just posted there?
No, I'm not there yet.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was kind of like along the lines of the Poly. That's why I was saying. But go ahead and finish the other one. I apologize.
I can break it up. Brian says, I just stayed 2 nights at – oh, boy. Too many things coming. I just stayed 2 nights at the Poly Bungalow. The reason for that is the speakers for Wishes didn't work on the back deck, so they gave me an extra night. Was not impressed with the room. Found 3 cockroaches, a lot of spider webs outside on the deck, and told them it should have been a Haunted Mansion theme room. Well, I'm sorry you had that experience, especially for the pricing. I've had a similar experience with cockroaches in Florida, and I've been told that they're just your friends down there, and I can't. I don't get over
cockroaches are your friend. Cockroaches are friends, not food. Sorry, that's pretty bad.
And then my go-to is Riverside. That's by far that's my go-to. I mean,
I'm really surprised neither one of us talked about, like, say, Caribbean Beach or anything like that. But Nancy made a comment just there a minute ago about any tips for Animal Kingdom Lodge, since it's going to be her first time there in January. Nancy, let me tell you something. There's so much to do at the resort itself, and especially with little ones. Take advantage of it because it's really, really cool. They have, a daily dance party type of thing around the pools. Also, this is one of those things where it's like a hidden tip because I don't think people realize this. At the DVC resorts, which Animal Kingdom Lodge is one of them, in the main building, the Jambo House building, there is the I'm sorry, it's not the Jambo House building. It is the Kidani Village side. There is the Community Hall. Now, Community Hall is a nice place where they're always showing a movie. There's some pool tables there. You can overlook the Savannah, which is really nice. You can do like some crafts, and they always have different activities going on. It's a great way to get away from the parks for a little bit, to calm down, chill out, relax a little bit, and you don't have to be a DVC member to enjoy it. The little crafts that you can make, they cost a few bucks, very nominal pricing. I mean, seriously, you can have a blast for a few bucks here and there just to make some different things. I bet your kids will just absolutely enjoy it. And at the same time, as I said, it's actually overlooking a Savannah. Great place to get away for just a little bit. At the same time, I'm going to give a restaurant review right here. Go to Sanaa. So it's on the lower basement level over on the Kidani Village side. Get the bread service. Hands down. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Go there for lunch. Really fantastic food. And you get to see part of the savannah as well. Fantastic. Give it a try.
Ian would like to know our favorite bar inside Walt Disney World. Now, you're not the biggest drinker.
No,
so
but
do you have a spot?
You know what? I will say this. My favorite place, and this is a tradition for me, I will always go get a pint over at Rose and Crown. And to me, that's just a little bit of a downtime experience for me. It's even better if I just happen to have a friend that I'm traveling with to meet me there. There's nothing like just having a pint at Disney. It's one of the I know I'm not a drinker. That's just one of those things. It's one of the few times I actually have a beer. So I really enjoy it. I will also say this. There is an outdoor bar overlooking the lagoon over by Coronado, and they had a blood orange sangria. That was absolutely the bomb. So I'm just going to throw it out there, too.
Pearl, that sounds delicious. I'm going to go with something new and something old. My new would be the Abracadabar that just opened.
Oh, yeah. I want to try that, too, sometime.
Yeah, it's a really fun one to do.
Okay.
And then I'm going to have to say Trader Sam's over at Poly.
You know what? I haven't been there yet. In fact, every time I've tried to go there, though, there was a line waiting to get in.
Yeah.
So, the fact of the matter is you really kind of need to be there relatively early. But I do want to try Trader Sam's one day. I go over there my family and I go over there all the time for just to eat at Captain Cook's. Believe it, yeah, sure, it's a quick service, but man, some of their food there is really, really good, and not in big portions that you can share for reasonable price too, I might add.
So one of the next questions that had popped up, I'm sorry I fell off, was what are some other resort shows that you guys do in regards to, I guess, Yeehaw Bob? Well, there really isn't many other resort shows.
No, over at, but I will say this, over at French Quarter, they do have some live music that's played at the lounge on I believe, pretty much a nightly basis. There is usually a band playing band and or a piano player over at the Grand Floridian, which is really kind of cool. I'm trying to think of some of the things I've experienced. Actually, you can go over to the Grand Floridian. Most times you're going to hear the band playing, and this really adds to the ambience of that beautiful resort. I'm trying to think because I haven't been to some of them in a little while. But those just come up to mind. I would basically say that if you are going to a resort that has a lounge, which is mainly moderates and above, and many DVC resorts, ask them, hey, do you have a lounge, and do you know what might be playing? Aaron Del Prezzo, ukulele player at Trader Sam's. That is so apropos. I really now I've got to try that out, man. So,
fire thrower at Poly. Wow. I remember that. I haven't seen that in a while. That was nice.
I've never seen that.
Oh yeah, that used to be pretty freaking cool.
I guess you can. I guess you could say that show is smoking.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna say my thing is I like as much as I feel out of place would be hanging out and listening to the piano at no, not Casey's Corner, Grand Floridian.
Why would you think it'd be out of place? Granted, if
I'm out of place. First of all right. I'm a good Catholic boy. My parents full Italian. They raised me well. When I go out, I dress nice. 9 out of 10 times. I'm a big man. I sweat inside Disney, so I'm rolling in with khaki shorts, a sweaty T-shirt. These people are all dressed up nice, and I'm just sitting on the couch, arms up, listening to music, and I'm like, everybody's got their pinkies up in the air. No, I really, I really enjoyed I really enjoyed that hotel, but like I feel like if you're not in a 3-piece suit or like a dinner gown for a woman, like you're gonna just seem weird.
The thing is that what you basically said, maybe not to that extent.
She agrees.
Yeah, well, the thing is that my wife and I have always said, here I am, shirt, that's, probably I'm drenching with sweat, shorts. I look like, junk. And next thing you know, you're walking down that one side and there's a beautiful bride walking down the stairs. There's been plenty of times where I've, walked in on a bridal party having their picture taken and stuff like that. And here I am wearing, Mickey ears. And it's a little off-putting, I'll be honest with you. But the funny part is that we are going to be staying at the Grand Floridian Villas for a couple nights during our next trip. And, we're going to see whether or not it makes a difference as to, do we really feel that way being guests of that actual resort hotel? I will let everybody know if I change my mind on how I feel on this when that happens. But I definitely agree with you, Danny. I mean, it can be a little intimidating because it's such a gorgeous resort. And if I was going to be there, even if we go to like the Contemporary for Cali Grill, we actually change clothes. Mm-hmm. We throw in, I go to the restroom, change clothes just so we can actually, be presentable. I mean, granted, I have a huge case of head when that happens, but that's beside the point. I don't know. Good points.
All right. With that being said, Chris, do you have any final notes, tips, tricks for anybody?
I'll tell you what, there's so many different questions that have come up. Like, Ryan, do I switch hotels mid-trip? Yes, I do. We can talk about that in a different episode. But I will tell you this, guys, thank you so much for all the questions. I'll tell you what, we're going to probably do a mailbag episode coming soon. If you want to drop off some of those questions over at behindthearspodcast@gmail.com, or even just drop us a line on our Facebook page or even the Disney community page. Hey, we'll take a look at them. We'll compile them, and we would love to talk about the questions that you happen to have. We don't always do trip planning shows and things like that, but it is part of our repertoire, and we enjoy doing it for you, our listeners.
So with that being said, guys, thank you for tuning into another episode of Behind the Ears Podcast. You can find us on all our social media platforms. At Facebook is Behind the Ears Podcast. Twitter is Behind the Ears PC. Instagram, Behind the Ears Podcast. Like Chris said, any questions, comments, concerns, even if you'd like to even join us on the show, you can email us over at behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Ears Podcast. Do not forget to go rate and review the show on iTunes. Subscribe via, YouTube, Podcast Addicts, iTunes, however you guys listen. And make sure you're sharing with your friends that we are streaming exclusively on Streaming Disney's Facebook page. We are live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that being said, guys, I bid you adieu. I am Uncle Danny. I am signing out.
And I'm Mr. Chris. Thank you so much for joining us. We've had a blast tonight, and we hope to see you again very, very soon. Until we meet again, have a magical day. Take care.